we will apparently have some humanitarian corridors opened up in several Ukrainian cities this morning. Of course, we've had ceasefires brought in that have both been broken over the weekend and civilians have been bombed. What do you make of this latest suggestion that there may be humanitarian corridors opened?
When it comes from the Kremlin, I don't believe anything they have to say. They have violated numerous ceasefire agreements and intentionally are targeting civilians when these humanitarian corridors are open. So, I mean, we will see, but over the past 8 years, they've had, since Russia invaded Ukraine, we've had several ceasefire, agreements that were violated immediately by Russia.
So, I mean, you don't sound optimistic about that at all.
No.
Okay, I suppose then on a kind of the broader themes of the day then, we're reporting this morning that Boris Johnson is going to push for Western allies to take more action on sanctions. What do you make of the fact that Boris Johnson is saying that he is the one that is going to push for more when he's been really criticised for the UK's response to Russia by way of slightly slow at imposing sanctions?
He sees the images coming out of Ukraine. I mean, what is happening is horrendous. And I think he understands that, now is not the time to try to protect oligarchs and, not to put the full sanctions and take every measure to punish Russia for what they are doing. Because, I mean, we have the biggest humanitarian crisis in Europe right now since World War II. We have cities being decimated, civilians being targeted, Russia seizing nuclear plants and taking the workers hostage. So, I mean, right now is not the time to take, to not put the full measures that can be taken against Russia into place.
So yeah, so that's I mean that's an interesting point. So this should be the end of incremental sanctions? Is that what you're saying? Should we just throw everything at this?
Absolutely. Russia has crossed all lines and broken all international laws. They launched a brutal assault inside Ukraine. I mean, they are threatening us with, nuclear weapons. They are seizing nuclear weapons plants. They set a nuclear plant facility on fire due to shelling and then prohibited firefighters from getting to the plant to put the fire out, causing panic across the world, especially in Europe. I mean, this is the largest nuclear facility in Europe and can pretty much destroy Europe if the disaster would have escalated. So yes, right now there's absolutely no reason. Putin is not stopping. When we have the negotiations between Russia and Ukraine that have been happening in Belarus, he increases his air assaults. And these targets are specifically buildings, schools, hospitals, school buses. I mean, he is targeting civilians, women, children.
Mm. Um, what should sanctions and support and the intervention of Western countries, what should it now look like? We understand that later this week, Boris Johnson and President Biden will speak on the phone. And this is, of course, around calls for Russia to be entirely cut off from using the SWIFT international payment system, for example. It feels like while that may be a sort of harsh measure in terms of the effect it will have, in the face of bombing civilians, is cutting Russia off from SWIFT really what civilians want? I mean, is that going to make the blindest bit of difference to people who are fleeing a war zone?
I mean, it will make the difference because Russia will be held accountable, and this will put a strain on their economy and hopefully, force people inside Russia to rise up for what is happening because, they're already getting seeing the repercussions of Putin's actions with American Express, Visa, Mastercard, and a lot of Western companies, exiting their market. So at this point, we need all the sanctions measures, but more so, we need weapons to Ukraine. I mean, Ukrainians are fighting. They are the front line because if Russia succeeds in Ukraine, Putin will not stop with Ukraine. And I keep saying that, and we've seen the alerts now towards Moldova and other countries, that would be at risk with Russia attacking them.
So, in terms of the broadening of this conflict, I don't know, how would you sort of place your level of concern that this is going to escalate further, as you suggest there, into other countries?
I have been very concerned, and I've also been very concerned about the, nuclear aspect of it, just because, I'm not as worried of Putin threatening to launch a nuclear weapon. But for instance, today, since last night, I have been beyond alarmed.
Mm.
The Russian press has been laying this false flag that Ukrainians are preparing, a dirty bomb or to unleash a dirty bomb in Kharkiv. That they are preparing they rigged a nuclear facility in Kharkiv. They had probably 9 articles back to back about the nuclear weapon issue and that Ukrainians are preparing to, unleash a dirty bomb or some kind of a nuclear attack on their soil. I mean, it makes zero sense because, why would Ukraine wait for Russian military to start bombarding their cities to decide to nuke their country?
Mm.
But I mean, the language coming out is extremely alarming. And again, if Putin succeeds with this will only give him the appetite to continue on with his military strategies.
Olga, thank you very much. Thanks for joining us. I appreciate your time. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
That's Olga Lautman, Senior Fellow at the Centre for European Policy Analysis.